Imagine dedicating years of your life working abroad only to be told it's time to leave. Over 300,000 Filipinos are being forced to return home in 2025 due to sweeping policy changes in 10 major countries. Why is this happening? And what's next for these workers? Stay tuned to discover which nations are enforcing these tough measures and how they impact Filipinos. Don't miss number 6, it's a shocker. 1. UAE. Emiratization and family visa challenges. The UAE's emiratization policy in 2025 has displaced over 85,000 Filipino workers. Key industries such as banking, retail, and government roles are now being prioritized for Emirati nationals, leaving OFWs with limited options. Family visa restrictions have further complicated matters, making it harder for OFWs to maintain households in the UAE. Many families have been forced to separate, as rising costs and stricter regulations make staying together unfeasible. The UAE's focus on localization has reduced opportunities for Filipino professionals. Many are now returning to the Philippines, unsure of how to rebuild their lives. 2. Malaysia. Malaysian First policy hits. OFWs in 2025, Malaysia introduced the Malaysian First employment policy, significantly prioritizing local workers over foreign labor. This policy has hit Filipino workers especially hard, particularly those in retail, construction, and domestic work. Thousands of OFWs have had their work permits revoked, leaving them with little more than a 30-day notice to vacate the country. The abrupt nature of the enforcement caught many Filipinos by surprise. Families were forced to abandon homes, schools, and communities they had built over the years. The lack of transition time created immense financial strain, as many workers were unable to save enough for a sudden return to the Philippines. This policy has sparked widespread debates about the balance between supporting local employment and valuing the contributions of migrant workers. Despite their crucial role in boosting Malaysia's economy, Filipino workers are being excluded, marking an emotionally and financially challenging period for the OFW community. For many, Malaysia was a second home, and being uprooted has left a lasting impact. 3. Saudi Arabia. Saudization's devastating impact. Saudi Arabia's Saudization policy in 2025 has displaced thousands of Filipino workers. This policy reserves jobs in 12 major sectors, including retail, healthcare, and hospitality for Saudi nationals. Filipino workers who have dedicated years to these industries are now finding themselves jobless as these roles are systematically reallocated to locals. Compounding the issue is the tightening of restrictions on domestic worker roles. Many Filipinos employed as nannies, drivers, or housekeepers have faced non-renewal of contracts, leaving them with no choice but to return home. Community support networks, which were once a lifeline for OFWs, are also weakening due to limitations on religious gatherings and events. For many Filipinos, Saudi Arabia was a beacon of opportunity. Now it feels increasingly unwelcoming. Thousands of workers are grappling with the financial challenges of reintegration into the Philippines, as well as the emotional toll of leaving behind a life they built over years. 4. Taiwan. Cutting factory worker quotas. Taiwan's manufacturing sector, long reliant on Filipino labor, underwent a major overhaul in 2025. The government slashed factory worker quotas by 60%, forcing thousands of OFWs to return home. Additionally, a new and stricter skills verification system increased barriers for workers to qualify for jobs. Many Filipinos who had previously passed requirements found themselves unable to meet the new criteria. The abrupt enforcement of these policies has created chaos. Families dependent on remittances are now left in financial limbo. To add insult to injury, Taiwan introduced mandatory return policies after contract completion, leaving workers with no option to renew or seek other opportunities. Taiwan's decision highlights a shift in economic priorities, but for Filipino workers, it has been a destabilizing blow. The country's once vibrant OFW community is now facing an uncertain future. 5. Japan. End of caregiving opportunities. Japan's caregiving trainee program, which employed thousands of Filipinos, came to an abrupt halt in 2025. This program was a lifeline for OFWs, allowing them to contribute to Japan's aging population while earning a stable income. Its termination has left many jobless, forcing them to return home. Adding to the challenges, Japan introduced a new tax system targeting foreign workers. The increased financial burden has made it nearly impossible for many Filipinos to save or support their families back home. Combined with the high cost of living, these new policies have made Japan less viable for OFWs. Stricter visa renewal processes have further limited opportunities. With reduced quotas and higher requirements, fewer Filipinos can remain in Japan. This has disrupted the lives of many who have long considered Japan their second home. 6. Qatar. Workforce overhaul. Post-World Cup Qatar's transformation after the 2022 World Cup has had far-reaching consequences for Filipino workers. The country has implemented Qatar-first policies that prioritize Qatari nationals in key industries such as construction, hospitality, and retail. For years, Filipinos played a critical role in Qatar's development, especially during the massive World Cup preparations. However, with these projects completed, the need for foreign labor has drastically declined. Adding to the burden, Qatar now enforces a ban on hiring new Filipino workers, effectively ending any hope for aspiring OFWs to find opportunities in the nation. Those already employed are facing non-renewal of contracts, leaving many scrambling to return home. To make matters worse, Qatar has introduced additional restrictions, including a complete reallocation of certain job roles exclusively for locals. This has left thousands jobless, particularly in low-skill sectors. For Filipinos who once saw Qatar as a land of opportunity, this policy shift has been devastating, forcing many to return to the Philippines under financial strain and uncertainty about their future. 7. Kuwait. Mass deportations of domestic workers. Kuwait's 2025 mass deportation of domestic workers disproportionately impacted Filipinos. Workers in their late 40s and beyond were disqualified due to newly implemented age restrictions, regardless of their years of service. Adding to the stress, Kuwait's zero-tolerance policy on overstays has led to severe penalties, forcing many Filipinos to leave abruptly under challenging circumstances. Bahrain, phasing out Filipino workers. Bahrain's 2025 labor policies effectively phased out Filipino workers. Contract renewals were halted, and property ownership restrictions made it difficult for OFWs to establish long-term roots. Family visa cancellations added another layer of difficulty, disrupting the lives of many who had built a stable existence in Bahrain. 9. South Korea. Automation. Over manpower, South Korea's decision to phase out E-9 visas and prioritize automation has left Filipino workers in limbo. Factory jobs once filled by OFWs are now being replaced by technology, significantly reducing employment opportunities. Stricter language requirements have further marginalized OFWs, leaving many no choice but to return home. 10. Hong Kong. Domestic helper. Quota cuts in 2025, Hong Kong reduced its domestic helper quota, directly impacting Filipino workers. Stricter regulations and new minimum income requirements for employers have made it harder for families to hire helpers. Housing restriction enforcement has worsened living conditions for OFWs, forcing many to leave the city after years of service. As these policies unfold, the lives of over 300,000 Filipino workers are being upended. What do you think is the biggest challenge they face? Lack of local job opportunities, or the difficulty of reintegrating into Philippine society? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights on global issues affecting Filipinos worldwide.